So you think computer games are more exciting than old-fashioned toys? Maybe you should think again. With the help of the great British public, it's time to liberate them from the toy cupboard, supersize them, and unleash their true potential. This week, what will happen when I liberate the untapped creative prowess of the British people?
That looks like it was made by a man with a knife and fork. That's absolutely fabulous.
Is it?
That's beautiful.
And how will the great and the good at the world's most prestigious horticultural event react to a garden made of nothing but plasticine?
If I may say so, horticulturally dodgy.
Well, there's hundreds of flowers.
They're not real ones.
She doesn't like me.
I think it's wonderful.
Well, your approval is more important to me, Ms. Lumley.
If you were a child in Victorian Britain and you weren't actually in the workhouse, you may have been lucky enough to play with this. That is good old-fashioned modelling clay, and it was available in the following range of colours: grey. And that wasn't the only problem with it. You see, if you left it alone for the weekend, it went absolutely rock hard. And that was tough. They were the best of times, they were the worst of times. Largely, they were the worst. Times improved in 1897, when one William Harbut, a frustrated art teacher, had a brainwave. Would it be possible, he wondered, as he tugged at his enormous beard, to develop a synthetic modelling clay based on oil rather than water, so it wouldn't keep drying up? He tried it, and it worked. And he called his invention Plasticine. It was so successful that over 100 years later, it still hasn't dried up. It was absolutely brilliant. The Edwardians went mad for it. It was the Nintendo of the 1900s. It dragged model making from the sepia-hued doldrums and on to a brightly coloured and reusable modern upland. Its popularity didn't peak until the 1950s. But by the 70s, after thousands of tons of it had been trodden into the nation's carpets, it was beginning to look, well, a bit Edwardian. Does this miraculous remouldable material still have a role to play in today's Britain? I decided to find out.
This is Liverpool Street Railway Station in central London. It's one of the busiest stations in the country, and I've come here with a load of plasticine, which is quite difficult to steer, to see if people are still interested in playing with it. I'll set up a little stall on the platform. People coming past on their way home can stop off and make a penguin or something.
I was a commuter once, and I know how miserable it is. How nice it will be for them to be able to find solace just for a moment in unbridled creativity.
Bored, miserable, you never really wanted to be an accountant? Come to the plasticine stand near the underground entrance. Roll up, roll up. Plasticine stand. Come to the plasticine stand. It's by the underground station. It's free, it's fun. It's educational and it's therapeutic. What am I doing with it? Anything you like. I'm looking for hidden plasticine talent. What time is your husband arriving?
5 minutes ago.
He's obviously left you. You may as well come and play with plasticine.
Oh, yeah.
Carry on.
Gradually, more and more people turned up to stun me with breathtaking sculptures.
Did you do that? Yes. That's very good. When did you last do this?
Oh, when I was in short trousers.
I said I was expecting a penguin, but look, I got a dinosaur and some fruit and this thing. It's heartwarming stuff.
Who made that strawberry then? That's lovely. You've even got the texture of it right. Are you some sort of artist or sculptor or model maker? You're just naturally good at it.
Old school it may be, but as you can see, there is a latent love of plasticine deep in the soul of the British people. The question now is, what to do with it? My ambition is to create an epic project that will re-establish Plasticine as the ever-moist modelling medium of choice. So I go to the pub to meet William Harbert's great-grandson, Terry Harbert.
Thank you very much. All the best.
And you. Right. What have you got from the family archive?
Well, I've delved around and found a few bits and pieces that might stimulate your artistic leanings and see what you think.
You'll need a lot of that.
Something that might interest you, 101 uses of Harbert's plasticine.
Artificial noses in amateur theatricals. Earplugs. Mixed with cotton wool, it is officially used in the Navy and Army during heavy gunfire. In hand grenades, used as a luting to prevent sparks from the cap firing the charge before the burning of the fuse. Gardening, hang on, grafting fruit trees, shrubs, etc.
So, very quickly, we've narrowed it down to gardening or trench warfare. In a moment of rashness, I go for gardening.
Great-grandfather spent a lot of time in the garden. Many of the old photographs I have in photo albums show the family sitting in the garden. There's plenty of different colours and forms in flowers, and it's a recurring theme in a lot of their early booklets and things.
Never really done flowers, apart from on the shirts, obviously.
Looking through the booklets, we've got a daffodil in relief there.
I have to say, actually, it's rather exquisite. There, look at that. There is a flower made to the original William Harbert method. And that's given me a bit of an idea. You see, I don't actually have a garden. I've got a few pots out of the front, but they're the responsibility of her outdoors. So what if I made a whole garden out of plasticine flowers? But then the question is, where would I actually put it? Because I want a lot of people to come and see whatever it is we make. I want it to be a celebration of plasticine. I want it to be the pinnacle of plasticine greatness. I want it to amaze the world with what is possible using this Victorian dated plaything.
Now, this is a bit of a long shot, but there is one obvious place for it. It's a place where the cream of gardening society gather from all over the world for 1 week in May to push at the boundaries of the horticulturally acceptable. A place crying out for a garden grown entirely from plasticine that never needs weeding. Chelsea's Chelsea Flower Show. I gave Chelsea a ring and suggested this, and amazingly, wasn't told to go away immediately. Instead, I was summoned to the site where, in under 2 months' time, I wanted to show the first plasticine exhibit in the show's long and illustrious history. Manager Alex Borkwell had a stern word.
This is where we have to get quite serious, because Chelsea Flower Show is the pinnacle of the gardening world. Okay, and this project could seriously backfire on both you and the RHS. If we feel that the design is right and we go ahead with it, then the actual logistics of putting it in and making sure it's right, it's built to time and to the right spec is critical.
So you're telling me not to muck about?
Not to muck about. Serious business.
You can't simply turn up at Chelsea with a bunch of tulips. You have to submit a proposal for approval. So, taking my inspiration from the wine rack, I got to work on my concept.
I really can't improve on this anymore. I'm just meddling with it. Here is my garden design. It's called Paradise in Plasticine. So it has, it has a pond, so it can have some lilies on it and maybe a toad on one of them. A little waterfall-y bit there that makes the little tinkle-tinkle sound of falling water. People like that sort of thing. Divided it up into flower types: roses, cacti, grasses, daffs, pansies, flowers, more grasses, fronds, and then there's this winding path that enters the mystical garden here, allows you to walk around it, viewing all this stuff, and then you emerge over here, back into the real world, wondering if it was maybe all just a dream.
At the RHS headquarters, the Flower Show committee deliberated over my submission, though not for long.
We're running an international premiere flower show, and you have an exhibit that's a pile of plasticine. How does that fit?
The plasticine is not so much of a worry, I would say. It's because I don't really see a very strong design, which was not what I was expecting to see, really.
Has it got neighbours on the site?
Yes, it's got 2 neighbours. And of course their boundary walls, etc. Yeah.
So they're going to be pleased, aren't they?
I think that either the brief has to be rewritten or the design has to be redesigned.
It's almost a disappointment then.
And it's a big disappointment.
So we're asking him to resubmit, I think.
Yeah.
I've just had a letter from Alex, that quite posh girl at the Royal Horticultural Society, who until now I actually thought was rather nice, but she's rejected my garden design on the basis that it's not properly annotated, there's no detail of what materials it's made from. Well, that's plasticine. I needed to do a complete new design with a perspective view by Friday. It's Wednesday today, by the way. Which I think is preposterous. I can't, honestly, I mean, I know this isn't brilliant because I'm not very arty, but in terms of information, which is what this is about, what is missing? What else do you put on a garden design? Individual buttercups? Position of bumblebees? What? So I enlisted sculptor Jane McAdam Freud to unlock whatever it was that lay dormant in my artistic bones. She has excellent credentials. She's the great-granddaughter of Sigmund Freud, the daughter of painter Lucian Freud, and she trained in plasticine sculpting in Rome.
Hey, James, come through. First, we've got to get you to be uninhibited. We're going to put a paintbrush in your mouth. Then you will grunt.
She also turns out to be a bit bonkers.
Now, try and shift your weight backwards slowly. Careful.
I came here expecting to be tutored in the art of plasticine. Instead, Jane wants to free up my mind using some S&M equipment.
Oh, he's not grunting.
I began to wonder if my body would ever be found. More importantly, I couldn't quite see the point of all this. Perhaps Jane's next exercise would make a bit more sense. But the Jackson Pollock spit painting tutorial left me equally inept at garden design. Has this got anything to do with making flowers out of plasticine?
Yeah. A bit of variety.
Orange. But maybe she had a point. I sort of started to enjoy myself. There.
Perfect. Oh, that's superb.
Is there a red that I haven't used?
Yes.
I even made a tenuous connection. That looks like, now that's what I want the garden to look like, that bit. You see all those different colours?
Are you quite impressed with that?
Yeah, I like that. That's going on the wall.
Fantastic.
People will come round and say, oh, I didn't know you had children. Feeling massively free inside, and with a renewed appreciation of the world around me, born of conceptual anarchy, I returned to Chelsea with a new and improved proposal to present to the RHS committee. Now, I would like to present to you here exclusively at the Royal Horticultural Society, Paradise and Plasticine Mark II.
Mark II.
This time, I included much more detail, including a tree in the centre and a raised pot terrace at the back. More importantly, I secretly paid a graphic designer to do the drawing for me. We want it to be animated. The small daisies we make will move in the breeze and their heads will bob, as they should. It's not going to be a stiff, dead structure. It will have movement in it. Would this be enough? I hoped so. The graphic designer was quite expensive.
I think fundamentally the design, Andrew, is your call really on that.
I think much more convinced and convincing, really. I think it does what was needed.
So does that mean I can do it?
You definitely can, yeah. But now the real work starts.
Feel free to join in. Unbelievable. The biggest horticultural event on the planet will bear witness to a garden made entirely of plasticine. Pity I only have 5 weeks to build it. But I have a plan, of course. I rope in nearby Stockwell Park School. I leave some plasticine with their Year 9 students to see if they could put down their PlayStations long enough to make me some flowers.
Here we go then. Right, most importantly, do you like plasticine?
Yes.
Good. Because you might have to do quite a lot more of it. Right, go on then.
Woo!
Wow. That's terrific. Hey, that's not bad at all. So it's a cactus.
Yeah, just to show, like, how I keep everything inside, like the water and the cactus.
That is pretty deep. Have you been to see my mate who makes you hang upside down? Haha, you see, children, disciplined and controlled and managed, can make plasticine flowers to a pretty good standard. I thought they looked very convincing altogether. The question is, though, can they make enough of them before getting bored in time for the Chelsea Flower Show? At the rate they're working, a dozen or so flowers in half an hour, they do half an hour each lunchtime, they'll fill about 1 square metre of the garden in 100 days, I've worked out. But it's a start, see?
So, more flower makers were urgently required, and I knew just the place to find them.
Some strange and perverse conspiracy by the fates has brought my life to this. The Ideal Home exhibition, something I wouldn't normally attend, and me trying to persuade the great British shopper to make flowers, something I know very little about, out of plasticine, a material I can't use.
Ideal Home is the largest show of its kind in the UK, with over 11,000 visitors every day. This is the final day, when people come to bag a bargain plasma TV or a fridge. But I'm offering them the chance to become a part of history, or at least the history of plasticine, at one of my plasticine flower-making workshops. Fortunately, the Stockwell Park gang have come along to make plasticine flower-making look cool.
We have plasticine on the table, we have tools on the table, we have me up here as they mass-produce flowers out of plasticine. This has never been done before. It's very exciting.
Nobody turns up. Sadly, the lure of a cut-price toaster is greater than the call of art, which is its own reward.
One of the organisers who runs Earls Court just came up to me and said, "Oh, this is good. That means we might get somebody over this side of the exhibition centre for once."
Desperate times call for desperate measures. It's time for a stint of good old unashamed pamphleteering.
Leaflet. Giving out these leaflets now, they say that I need help to make plasticine flowers. It's a fantastic picture of me. Doing a good deal, make a flower instead. It's just more interesting. Sir, can I talk to you about God? Good. I want to talk to you about plasticine. There's the leaflet. Excuse me, madam. Like a leaflet. Thank you. Do come along. Please.
This paid off. People actually came and made flowers.
This is our flowerometer. We're hoping to make thousands today. It's currently on 0. But if you could bring each table's completed flowers up to our storage area, we can count them up, and you can start the ball rolling on the counter.
I couldn't believe it when even more people turned up.
Enjoying yourself?
Yes.
Better than shopping, isn't it?
Not quite.
You didn't really want to reduce price plasma screen television, did you? You wanted to make flowers out of plasticine.
I did.
Are you an art student?
No, I'm not, I'm afraid.
You should be. It's never too late. They might even give you a grant.
I'm a keen gardener, so I'm hoping this will be the first time I'll have been able to exhibit anything at Chelsea, you see. So.
I expected to be bored out of my mind looking at furniture, house things. I very nearly didn't come, but now I'm very pleased I did.
Not only was there willingness, there was real talent.
I haven't quite got the stem right.
Oh, you have.
Have I?
Yeah, that's absolutely fabulous.
Is it?
That's beautiful.
With only an hour to go, yet more people, bored by the ephemera of carpet and unneeded kitchen units, came to make flowers.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thought you might like to know, and you can congratulate yourselves for this. In 4 hours of continuous flower production, you have made 1,061 flowers towards my garden. Thank you very much.
By the time it was over, the British public had bestowed on me a wonderful gift. More plasticine flowers than I would have thought possible.
2,000 perfectly made plasticine flowers. I personally have never been involved in any project which has yielded such a huge volume of simply aching beauty, and it all came out of this stuff. I'm actually quite moved.
The next morning, I came to a small warehouse in southwest London, where Paradise in Plasticine would be assembled by model maker Paul Baker and his team of helpers.
Those are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
How many bunches of those do we need?
We need at least 12 bunches.
How many grapes on a bunch?
I would say about 50.
Okay, so you need about 1,000 grapes.
Yeah.
These art students are an absolutely fantastic find. And very cheap, actually, because they're doing it for nothing. But what I haven't got the heart to tell them is that this is actually the workhouse. It's that Victorian ethic thing again. I don't just need a few, I need hundreds, well, thousands, actually.
Downstairs, Paul and I marked out the 35 square metre plot given to us by the RHS. It suddenly seemed quite big.
How many flowers on there?
It's 100 on that piece.
That's half a square metre. 200 flowers per square metre. We made 2,000. So we've got enough for 10 square metres. And the garden's 35 square metres. I think we've done mass production. The British people, who are great, have proved that, as usual, in an hour of need, they can rise to the challenge. But I need to think of something. Who else makes flowers?
With the Chelsea Flower Show now just 3 weeks away, we needed these people fast. So, with my panniers stuffed with plasticine, I selflessly made my way across London in the rain to meet the lovely Jane Asher in her cake shop.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
I wondered if you could do some plasticine.
Yes.
It's quite heavy.
We don't usually work in plasticine, but
you can make
anything
flowers.
possible.
Jane's team can make virtually anything out of icing sugar. And I discovered that you can buy incredibly convincing icing sugar flowers off the shelf.
They're relatively crude. The petals are a little thicker than we would make them, but they're very effective, particularly if you use them in bulk.
And that's marzipan.
It's icing.
Icing,
Icing.
sorry. But it looks fabulous to me. Could you make something that good in plasticine?
Oh, yes, easily.
May I eat this?
Yes, of course. Just bite it. Oh my God, you put the whole thing.
My next stop is a Japanese restaurant, Sake Nohana, where they can work magic with fish, which is a bit like plasticine.
Konnichiwa. May I talk to you about plasticine? You can make very beautiful flowers out of sushi, sashimi, yes? Can you try it with plasticine? Thank you very much. It's all yours. Domo obrigado.
I begin to enjoy my new role as vigilante motorcycle plasticine flower man. My next stop is just up the road, and these blokes know a thing or two about poppies.
That comes a copy of the photograph from Texas.
Gentlemen.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
Your mission, men, should you choose to accept it, is remembrance poppies in plasticine.
Very good. How many do you want us to make?
As many as you can do.
We'll do our humble best. We'll do our best.
That's the spirit. So I was off to my final appointment with the ladies of the Neasden Hindu Temple in North London. Evening. Sorry I'm late. I come bringing you a gift of plasticine. I hope I'm not offending some ancient Hindu custom by bringing a blade into a temple. A green bit to play with.
Do you have any instructions, or can we use just our own creativity to make the flowers?
No, I want your creativity. That's why I'm here. Please. I'm expecting great things from the temple on the strength of these garlands, which are used in religious ceremonies and are actually made from silk by hand. I'm hoping the same skill can be applied to plasticine. Time is running out. Over at Chelsea, the gates have opened and contractors for the exhibitors have moved in to start groundworks on site. In just 1 week, all the gardens must be finished. Back at the workshop, the students have wised up to my no-pay ethic and have thinned out a bit. So I muck in with the design of the tree. I like the idea of 4 branches, because I was imagining we could have 1 branch per season, even though there are no seasons in plasticine. But, you know, you could have 1 with blossom, 1 with leaves, 1 with fruit, and 1 completely denuded, as if it's the dead of winter. Now, finally, it's time for some proper work.
Now, so far, you've seen me, frankly, mincing around quite a lot with little bits of plasticine and going, pinch the edge, because that makes it very thin and gives the impression of fragility. Well, just in case you chaps at home were thinking that was all a bit girly, we're now going to do some welding. I learned to weld as a teenager, and it's a skill you never forget. Here's a little bit that I started earlier to make... I didn't do that bit, though. That was done by the other person who's here. While I repair my metal tree, the real gardeners at Chelsea are already putting the finishing touches to their work. They even find time to polish the odd leaf. While back at the warehouse, I have more problems. This project has many detractors. There are all those slightly sniffy people at the Royal Horticultural Society, there's the gardening community, time itself, and now Basil Brush. Out of the back of the workshop, we have an urban fox. He lives down by the railway line, which is where he should be, obviously. But somehow or other, he comes into the building during the day and hides somewhere, we think. Then after we've gone home and locked up, he comes out and poos everywhere, for one thing, and also tries to eat plasticine flowers. Look what he's done to these. This is all the work of Foxy. But I think in one way it's a measure of just how convincing our plasticine garden is, if, out of all the wonderful gardens that there are around this urban area, Foxy chooses this one. Also, and I didn't predict this, we've chosen a building that overheats in the sun, and this is melting our plants.
We've had some hot days lately, and some of the heavier flower heads have actually melted.
So did that just fall off?
Yeah, and some of them are melting and actually the flower head's sinking down the stem.
Oh, crikey. We should point out that in here we're working under these skylights like that, so they're, I mean, this is a bit like a greenhouse, isn't it? To some extent, that's magnifying the heat, but even so, I'm wondering if I need to do a bit of a laboratory-type experiment to work out the critical ambient temperature at which plasticine goes floppy. Off to the lab, which is my kitchen, but I wasn't using it. So what I'm going to do, just to reassure myself, is a very scientific experiment. This is an oven. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put in some test flowers. Here's a tulip made by my very thin, delicate method. Here is one made exactly the same way, but with the thicker sort of mass production methods that we used at the Ideal Home. I'm going to put them in the oven, leave them in there for a bit and see what effect the heat has. So I'm going to mount my 2 test pieces in the potato. 2 test pieces, thin one, thick one. I'm going to place this in the bottom of the oven. I'm
Now, the lowest temperature at which I can set my oven is 50 degrees Celsius, which in Fahrenheit is actually somewhere around 120, so that's Egypt, really. Now, it's never, ever going to be that hot at Chelsea. I don't think it's ever been that hot in Britain. So if it can withstand this, then we know we're fine.
I reckon that if the flowers can last half an hour at this heat without wilting, then sunshine at Chelsea will not be a problem.
God, I think I've ruined both potatoes.
Let's hope it rains. I thought I'd check in on the Chelsea pensioners to see if they'd actually made any poppies.
Oh, look at that. So I didn't actually think you were going to do it when I met you last time. I thought, you know, you'll go off and forget about it, but you have. I'm very impressed.
The Chelsea Flower Show was now just 4 days away, but, well, would you tell them to hurry up? 3 days to the unveiling of my garden, and finally, good news. The plasticine plants are finished and ready to go. All I have to do is drive them to Chelsea.
On this one journey, which is only about 6 or 7 miles, I can redress the balance of all the terrible van driving that's ever gone on in the world, because this van journey will be saintly. Very gentle acceleration, and I'll tell you what this is like. This is exactly like driving along in the car with a takeaway curry on the passenger seat. The curry becomes the most important thing in the world, and if a man walks out on the road in front of you, it's tough, he gets run over.
No matter how carefully I drove, I knew there would be some casualties.
Ah! Ah!
I was in sight of the showground, but unfortunately, getting into Chelsea has never been straightforward.
You go to Battersea first, I'm afraid.
What?
I'm sorry. Pull over here, we'll sort it out for you.
Oh, Battersea's bloody miles away.
It's across the bridge.
Because there are so many vans trying to get in, there is a queue that stretches back over a mile from the gate. So I'm left in limbo while the officials decide if I can jump to the front or not.
I've just took you inside the lorry here, and we'll sort you out. I'll get security to come and escort you in.
So does that mean I don't have to go to Battersea?
I'll try and avoid it for you if I can.
I'll give you £1 million.
Thank you very much.
That's a deal.
You definitely don't have to go to Battersea.
Right. Just edit that out afterwards. Look at all this stuff.
I can't believe how advanced the other gardens are when we haven't even started ours yet. And I still have to check if anything in the back has survived.
Right, I've been putting this moment off, but I can't any longer. Oh, Rose, thou art sick.
My project manager, Sim Oakley, has been on site early to put the plinth and the walls in place. But already there's a problem with the design.
That cutout's in the wrong place. Those of you who are paying attention will notice that this is actually wrong. Because if you remember the original artwork, the cutout, where the wall goes lower, is over there. And now all of a sudden, it appears to be there. And the reason for this apparently is that it has to be there because you have to have something called an uninterrupted sight line that way, but not that way. So actually the person who commissioned this drawing, which was me, got that wrong. And the worrying thing is you can be marked down if your garden does not match your illustration. Up to 20% of the marks can be lost for that. So we can either redo the garden the other way round, or I could lose this drawing.
These are real. These are plasticine. It's time to plant the flowers, the result of thousands of hours of work by thousands of people. Now the garden is starting to come alive, which is pretty impressive for Plasticine. My old friends, the Chelsea pensioners, have also arrived, bearing the fruits of their labour.
Most impressed. Didn't expect to see anything like that at all when we started on the project. It's terrific, isn't it?
It was a couple of weeks before we realised it was not for eating.
The garden was definitely coming together, but something about it didn't look quite right. So I went and looked at some of the competition and noticed something interesting about their use of colour.
I've suddenly realised that my garden is vulgar and there's just far too much going on in it, so I need to go and sort that out, I think. Excuse me. Can we have a team meeting?
Team meeting?
People, team meeting. Everybody, team meeting, please. You won't like this, but I want you to listen very carefully before you murder me or anything. I've been around and looked at some of the gardens that are tipped for medals, and they're very, very elegant and very, very classy. And the key to it is, and this has always troubled me, the key is they limit the number of colours they use in any one area. I think some of our pre-planted beds need to be reorganised. And I'm not talking about a total redesign, but I mean we need to group the flowers so that there are 2 colours, or sometimes only 1, in each cluster, with a bit of green, with a bit of foliage. I'm sorry. It's my fault, to be honest, because I didn't make the effort to learn about garden design. I just looked at pictures of flowers and thought, they're nice, we could have those, and it's plasticine, and we can have them in any colour we want, and we can just mix it all up. Whose idea was it to have a tree with 4 different seasons on it?
Yours.
Was it?
Yeah.
That was a good idea.
They were only laughing at my joke out of pity, obviously. They didn't like the change of plan.
James has obviously taken some advice from some professionals who do this for a living, obviously. And he's made a lot of changes, which actually is for the better. It's just a bit late in the day. Obviously, it's a little bit late in the day because it's 24 hours till we open, and it's a bit rubbish.
They're never going to say it because they're all far too polite, but that lot absolutely hate me now. I can feel hate radiating from paradise in Plasticine. I was actually going to go home early and go to the pub and leave them to it, but as we've only got 1 day to go, and I've given them 3 hours at least extra work, and I'd quite like to win a medal now, I think I'll stay.
And then it rained.
When the weatherman brings the rain, I have to find my winter coat.
I pointed out to the team that this didn't matter because Plasticine is waterproof. We cannot broadcast the next bit. And there wasn't just the rain to contend with. Neighbouring gardeners had noticed what we were up to, and they weren't all impressed.
As an object to look at and have a bit of a laugh with, do you like my Plasticine garden?
No.
You don't? I knew you didn't. That's fine.
A garden is a little piece of paradise. That's what a garden means. If this is your personal impression of paradise, if this is where you would like to spend eternity, which is by definition what you're saying by calling it a garden, then I think you need some help.
Plasticine does last forever.
Yes, sadly.
And just when I'd had enough of so-called gardening experts...
You don't look as if you've got an awful lot of confidence in what you're doing.
Alan Titchmarsh.
James May.
Good Lord.
How are you?
You're a famous gardener.
Well, you're a famous car driver.
Yes, exactly. What am I doing here?
I quite like the purple and yellow. They're 2 colours that go well together because presumably you've studied Gertrude Jekyll's colour chart and the opposition on the colour wheel, and yellow is opposite purple, and so that's why they work together.
Do you know, Alan, I haven't.
Are you seriously hoping to win a medal with this?
Well, I wasn't, to be honest, until yesterday, and I went round and saw how competitive everybody else was being, and then I thought, well, at least we should try, rather than just making it look as if somebody spilled a packet of seeds in here.
It'll make people smile when it rains. But will you promise me one thing?
Anything.
Don't tell anybody I had anything to do with this garden.
Alan Titchmarsh is here, everybody,
I had
in the Plasticine garden.
to do.
Do you want to make one? He doesn't.
Luckily, Mr. Titchmarsh has no say in the judging of my garden. Unluckily, the real judges arrive early for the first of 2 inspections every garden must go through.
Hello.
Hello.
You must be the assessors.
We've come to assess.
Assess.
No, that's all right, no.
Things went from the sublime to the ridiculous when the judges failed to grasp the meaning of a plasticine garden.
Ignore the polystyrene. That's just...
But you're not using any real plants?
No, we didn't have to.
Oh, but this is a flower show.
Yes, I know, but I have special dispensation from the committee.
Okay.
They said
But
I didn't have...
if you're entering this into a flower show, we have to judge. There are 30 points awarded for flowers.
Well, there's hundreds of flowers.
They're not real ones.
But where does it say real?
Flowers generally real, yeah.
As they went on to view the garden, I was left mystified.
What a daft question, where are the real flowers? Of course it doesn't have any real flowers in it. All these are full of real flowers. Any idiot can do that. Oh, I'm not entirely sure they get it.
We're just going to go over there.
You like it? She doesn't like me, I can tell.
Chances are I'll lose points for changes to the back wall cutout. But now it looks like I'll also lose points for not having any, flowers. But there is a ray of hope in the form of my art mentor, Jane Mad Freud, because she is ready to unveil her special bust, made of plasticine, of the man who made all of this possible, William Harbut.
That is excellent, actually. That's really, really terrific.
I had to make it in 3 weeks. I've never made a bust in 3 weeks before. They normally take minimum 3 months, so it was a labour of love. But the spirit of William, he came, you know, to the bust. He was in the room with me, basically. The spirit of him made it much easier.
With William presiding over the final touches, our garden was at last complete.
Standing here in paradise, I find myself suffused with an unfamiliar emotion. Pride. Pride in a job well done, but also pride in that magnificent institution, the great British people, who, as ever, have been able to put their differences aside and come together for the common good. It strikes me, though, that you lot at home really haven't seen this properly yet, so now I'd like you to join me in paradise, in Plasticine. And here, because I know you've been waiting for it, is that tune. Roll it, Tony.
The poppies made by the Chelsea pensioners surround a majestic bust of William Harbut, sculpted by artist Jane McAdam Freud. The Stockwell Park Gang's carnations and roses are planted beside the Plasticine Bridge. The sunflowers on the raised terrace and the cake for our picnic hamper were made by the delightful Jane Asher and her staff. And then there's some sushi from the Japanese restaurant. I made that orange. Hanging on our mystery door, the floral garland made by the ladies of the Hindu temple. And the lush vegetable garden was designed by our very own model maker, Paul Baker. And with thousands of details made by the great British public, this truly is the people's garden. The day of reckoning. Today all the gardens are unveiled to the press, as well as invited celebrities and guests. Paradise in Plasticine was starting to catch the attention of the great and good.
Is it art? Sorry to burden you with these tricky philosophical questions at an otherwise enjoyable flower show.
Well, it's completely useless, so it must be art, mustn't it?
Ah, yes. The fish are real, obviously. But
Yes,
you're
obviously. You can tell,
knew
although
that,
they need feeding.
Now, I bet they don't smell.
They do. Of plasticine.
They do. The plasticine flask.
This is just fabulous. It gets my vote.
It's so joyful making.
It is absolutely brilliant.
Thank you, sir.
I've never
I'm
seen
glad you
anything
like
nicer
it.
in my life.
Would you like to step into paradise?
Is one allowed?
Yes, one is.
Oh, I'd be honoured. Some of them look to me, if I may say so, horticulturally dodgy. Do they still do it in corrugated strips?
Yes.
That's still how you buy it.
Would you like some?
Oh, it's been so long.
I've got some in the van.
I used to make sausages, of course, because that's the easiest thing
Oh,
to
yeah.
do. Just make sausages out of it.
Plasticine daisies, plasticine cake.
Yes, Jane Asher made that
And
cake.
a plasticine cameraman.
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
So he's wooden.
Slightly bendy, but charming. Yeah. Do you know what this is?
Is it?
Yeah.
How do you know this stuff?
Because I'm a gardener.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm not a gardener, you see. I don't have a
Where did I
garden.
sense that?
What, because my garden is plasticine?
It shows spring, summer, autumn, winter tree. I love that. Growing different fruits on different branches. Gorgeous.
But that can happen in plasticine.
Walk this way, because then the camera can see your handsome, slightly blushing face, modest, looking modest, because he's created a garden here. In some way, like the first Adam, he has become a gardener. He's been given this. He woke up here, his side slightly opened. Out came Eve. This is the first gardener, plasticine. Have I gone off track slightly here?
No, I'm loving it.
No, good, okay.
Well, your approval is more important to me, Ms. Lumley, than any amount of horticultural flim-flam.
Thanks, James.
God, I'm excited. And I wasn't the only one who was overcome. The children from Stockwell Park School were thrilled to see their work on display.
It feels good the celebrities are appreciating our work, because normally we appreciate them in like the TV shows. And
I don't mean to boast, but ours is, one of the best, and a lot of like famous people and like people who are respected and stuff are here, so it's great. Yeah, I feel proud.
Someone else feeling proud is William Harbert's great-grandson, Terry. Harbert.
The garden is absolutely stupendous. It is so much more than what I thought it would be. And great-grandfather would be really rocking in his grave now to see it all and thinking, this is wonderful. This is what plasticine's all about.
It's Tuesday, and the Chelsea Flower Show is open to the public. Over the next week, 150,000 people will flock to see Paradise in Plasticine, as well as possibly a couple of the other gardens. Tuesday is also the day when the judges' results are announced.
Obviously, I'm not really interested in what medal I've won. I'm just coming to see out of curiosity. I have a letter from Robert J. Sweet on behalf of the judges. I've been instructed to write to you by the judges of the 2009 Chelsea Flower Show to congratulate you on an inspiring and creative garden entirely made from plasticine. The lack of plants resulted in a 30% handicap, and disappointingly, the end result is that the garden has failed to achieve the minimum 45% required to make an award. No flowers, my arse.
It is very rare for the judges not to award a medal for a garden. But I know that the public likes Paradise in Plasticine, so I decide to take matters into my own hands.
Brothers, sisters, I have in my hand a piece of paper, and what it says is that our garden has failed to win a medal at Chelsea. I think what we are seeing here is the beginning of a revolution. The first crack of a giant fissure that will divide society into them and us. This, people,
is our winter palace. And when you are old, you will be able to tell your children and your grandchildren that you were there when it started. You were there in the people's Plasticine garden. I've just had a message from the RHS that they're sending someone down to see me, presumably to explain this, or to throw me out.
James.
Looking at my shoes.
James, you shouldn't look at your shoes at all. We're absolutely delighted with your garden, and we've explained why we are delighted with your garden at the RHS. And the RHS, therefore, has a one-off, specially commissioned, overnight medal. Congratulations. You've inspired us all.
You've made me feel really bad now.
Why?
Stop the revolution. It's all over.
The RHS have made me a gold medal, entirely out of plasticine.
How nice that there should be a fairy tale ending for my fairy tale garden. Everyone lives happily ever after. It's a victory for common sense, it's a victory for horticulture, but most importantly, it's a victory for plasticine.